Hello, BookTube. I have a bit of a mail haul for you here on a beautiful post-rain Friday. We had uh, insistent chilly rain all yesterday and all last night, but it seems to be gone. Today is bright blue skies, and the heat is rising, and we've got 3 packages here. No packages from any of you, and no boxes, but still, 3 is better than none, and who knows what might be in here. Let's see what this first one is. Okay, the first one's a finished copy of some kind. What have we got here? Okay, this is a finished. Oh, it's a lovely thing too. Let's get you out of there. This is by Edmund Duval, who wrote The Hare with the Amber Eyes. A lot of you will know that book. This is Letters to Commando. Can't remember if we saw the advanced copy of this on this channel. This is it comes out in mid-May, so I imagine all 3 of these will be mid-May releases. A decade ago, the author, one of the world's most renowned ceramic artists, became internationally best-selling author with the publication of The Hare with Amber Eyes. An extraordinary personal and historical detective story about the fate of a priceless ceramic art object belonging to his ancestors, it is now a modern classic and the subject of a traveling museum exhibit, making its North American premiere this fall in New York City's Jewish Museum. And on May 11th, FSG is thrilled to announce the publication of this highly anticipated return to the world of The Hare with Amber Eyes. In this book is a moving amalgam of memoir, history, and investigative work exploring the lives of a family crucially connected to that earlier story. As revealed through the objects, rooms, and writings they left behind at what is today... Oh, okay, so well, I guess I'll have to read this to find out. But naturally, with a description like that, my main question is, how independent does this stand? What was that wording? Yeah, exploring the lives of the family crucially connected to that earlier story. That makes me curious right away to know how connected. Well, I mean, will this be able to stand on its own? Maybe the author doesn't intend for it to. Who knows? We shall see. If it's an explicit sequel to a book as somewhat rarefied as Hare with Amber Eyes, then I don't see it being a candidate for review. Since a reviewer would have to spend a chunk of time reprising that earlier book. But I'll certainly give it a try. All right, now this next one is not a finished copy. What have we got here? Okay, do we have any paperwork? No, we do not have any paperwork. What have we got here? Okay, this is... what an odd cover. This is by Ayal Press, and it's called Dirty Work, Essential Jobs and the Hidden Toll of Inequality in America. On the bottom you have ranks of policemen with their faces blurred out, and on the top you have a drone. So what have we got here? This comes out in late August, so a long time from now. This is a groundbreaking, urgent report from the front lines of dirty work, the work that society considers essential but morally compromised. Oh, hence the drones. Drone pilots who carry out targeted assassinations, undocumented immigrants who man the kill floors of industrial slaughterhouses, guards who patrol the wards of America's most violent and abusive prisons. In Dirty Work, AL Press offers a paradigm-shifting view of the moral landscape of contemporary America through the stories of people who perform society's most ethically troubling jobs. As the author shows, we are increasingly shielded and distanced from an array of morally questionable activities that other, less privileged people perform in our name. Okay, that's pretty interesting. The COVID-19 pandemic has drawn unprecedented attention to the issue of essential workers and to the health and safety risks to which workers in prisons and slaughterhouses are exposed. But Dirty Work examines another, less familiar set of occupational hazards, psychological and emotional hardships such as stigma, shame, PTSD, and moral injury. These burdens fall disproportionately on low-income workers, undocumented immigrants, and women and people of color. Okay, so who is the author? An author and journalist based in New York, recipient of major awards and major grants, and the author of Beautiful Souls and Absolute Convictions, neither one of which I think I've read. So this comes out as a $28 hardcover at the end of August. Okay, so 2 pieces of nonfiction so far. Let's see what this last one is. I admit, obviously you can. I admit it, but you also don't need me to tell you. No Steve books so far. Interesting stuff, but nothing that's going to make Steve squeal in delight. So what have we got here? Huh. Okay. Wow, what a pretty cover. All right, this is by Meg Lohman, and it's called The Arbornaut: A Life Discovering the Eighth Continent in the Trees Above Us. Meg Lohman is one of the original pioneers of the field of forest canopy ecology. There was a time not too long ago when most tree scientists and foresters focused solely on the trunks of trees and what could be observed from the forest floor by cutting the trees down. But as a young graduate student in Australia in the late 1970s and early 80s, the author decided, with a homemade climbing rig and slingshot in hand, to ascend to the canopy and see what she could learn from studying it right there in the midst of everything. What she found was a whole new world and a wealth of biodiversity. Roughly 50% of all land-dwelling creatures live in the forest canopies above us. That is amazing. 50%. The author was hooked, becoming one of the world's first arbonauts and launching a career that would help to revolutionize forest ecology at a time when field biology was almost entirely a male-dominated pursuit. There was another book on forest canopies, on the life and ecosystem in forest canopies. It was a long time ago. What was it called? I had a copy for a long time. I found it at the Brattle and I loved it. Don't think I have it anymore. Is it A World Above? Something like that. I'll try to remember to find it, and maybe... I don't think I have it anymore, but I've read one other book on this subject. This sounds like it's much more up-to-date and comprehensive. In this book, the author recounts the colorful, gripping tale of her life's work and lifelong love of nature, tracing her trajectory from her youth as a shy science nerd growing up in rural New York State to her time as a budding scientist investigating the deaths of eucalyptus in Australia. As the only female scientist on an ambitious expedition to the Congo Basin, and ultimately as a trailblazing science superstar whose expertise has brought her around the globe to do important work in forests everywhere from Northern California, Peru, and India to Ethiopia and Malaysia. With this book, she tells a personal story about the challenges she faced as a woman in science, with a dearth of female role models to look to in her field, and she writes movingly about her family life. Okay, but what about the forest canopies? I mean, I'm perfectly willing to read those memoirish elements, but if you start off your pitch by saying that half the animal species on Earth live in this little explored ecosystem, I mean, the pub sheet is one thing, but if you start off the book by saying that, if you start off the book by telling me that, I'm going to be naturally impatient for you to write about that. It is a much bigger subject. This book also offers a model for how to do scientific work in a way that makes both a positive impact on the planet as well as on communities around the world whose engagement is essential for progress to be made. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. This is a long way off. Yes, this is August, so I don't have to worry about this for a long time. It sounds like this is going to be very heavy on the autobiography and maybe correspondingly light on the natural history. Maybe that's not true. Maybe that's just the pub sheet. Maybe the book does a lot more than that. But I'm naturally curious to know. The only aspect of this whole subject that I know a little bit is the arboreal ecology of bats. There are many species of like, for instance, there are many gigantic trees, ecosystems of trees in the southern hemisphere, for instance, where each separate elevation of that ecosystem will be populated by a different species of bat, and they don't go above or below. And that, I imagine, is completely true of the very top of the forest canopy, where there is ample supply of drinkable water. You don't, under most circumstances, in most seasons, you don't need to descend to the forest floor to drink your fill. And an ample supply of food. There's an ample supply of food as well. There are insects, animals, bird life, snakes, all kinds of animals that never go down to the forest floor. So, there's a part of me that's going to hope that this book dwells on that subject. That is fascinating. I'll have to remember what that other book was. A World Above or something like that. I'll figure out what it is. I won't be hard to find with Amazon's search function. So there you go. Those are our books today. 3 nonfiction works. We have Letters to Commando in a finished copy, and 2 books that we're not going to get finished copies of for a while. Dirty Work, about morally questionable jobs, not just fruit pickers, the kind of jobs that so many Americans think are below them, but also the morally questionable stuff that is almost the equivalent of the unclean in India. And then finally, The Arbornaut, a life discovering the 8th continent in the trees above us, which sounds like it's going to be much more about the life of the discoverer than the 8th continent itself. We shall see. I won't be looking at these at the 2 advanced copies for some time. I'll just put them on the pile. But the other one I will check out today or this weekend. So anyway, that's the mail for today. I have, once again, a small spidey sense that there is more mail coming, but I could be wrong about that. So one way or another, you'll be the first to know. I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.